April 20th through April 22, I was waking in the morning, 4 a.m., unable to sleep. This is the truth. Unable to sleep, saying to myself for days, who is in charge of this? Who is in charge of this? Nobody was in charge of this. There was silence. Nobody was saying anything. And by the way, it's very curious to me that I still have to investigate this, so don't take it from me as fact, but maybe some of you can look into it further, as I will as time goes on. But the rig had the explosion on the 20th of April, and it sank on the 22nd of April. And I'm wondering why it sank, how that happened. That's a curious question, and there are reports, and I am not saying this as fact. Everything else I bring to you is thoroughly researched in fact, at least by what we consider, what anyone would consider reputable sources. But there are rumors coming out of Russia that a North Korean sub might have had something to do with sending torpedoes toward that rig. Now that's just a rumor, and but people could follow this up and see what's being said, because you know, and by the way, we're getting very closer to many aggressive things coming at us from countries outside of our country right now, because a lot of our securities are being let go and lifted. A topic for another day. But North Korea did torpedo a South Korean ship, and many people died. That was not very many weeks ago. That is established by the entire world community. But be that as it may, what the exact reasons are for why this happened, why BP would not let the people go from once the thing happened, they would not let them leave for a long time, and certainly have disallowed them from speaking if they're employed now, working in any capacity, and so on. These are all interesting things for us to pursue. But here we had this catastrophe, and if you are not worried about it, if it does not make you sick, if it's not in the back of your mind, and I must admit, in order to carry on and do my life, I have to deny, I have to purposely avoid. That is not healthy for anyone. Otherwise, I'd just be laying and crying, and I have shed many, many tears already. But I'm thinking, okay, and I'm waking, oh my God, and then I think who's the president and how he is, and I'm going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know, I'm remembering. And, then, you know, finally he sees that it can't be, and many lies were told. And also you notice that recently the person who is president said to the nation that he's been in control of this from day one. But if you remember, from day one, he was always saying it's not his thing to do, it's BP's thing to do. BP was in control, and he even said very many weeks into it that he's not going to get in the way of BP, that he doesn't have, you know, the government doesn't have a way to handle this situation. So it's only as the public and the people of the region are getting crazy and amazed that he's finally responding in some kind of way and backtracking and making up stories for what he's all about. The U.S. government knew much more about this from the very beginning than they were willing to tell the public. And by the way, BP is an original sponsor on board with the people that are, you know, have a lot of money, corporate, you know, organized interest is on board with the cap and trade. BP is also a contributor to many people involved around this administration. So there's a clue and an idea to follow as well. So Anyway, meanwhile, while people are starting to say, hey, our grass is unprotected. Hey, these estuaries, the oil's coming, we can smell it. And this was going on. And people are left to stand helpless, and they're not allowed to go see. Reporters aren't allowed to go see. Scientists are not given permission to go see. People are not allowed to get into the water. Those people would have been in there with some of these materials that have been made that soak up oil, or any, small skimmers, you name it. They would have been in there, and they had to sit paralyzed. Everybody was refused and not allowed. And there was a tape, and many of the pundits on MSNBC, that horrible, negligent station, horrible, on MSNBC, many were saying, who are close to the president, who love him, who are altar boys at his altar boys and altar girls, were saying in the beginning with kind of a flippancy, a regular saying, that the president did not want to be associated with an oil disaster. And this was supposed to be an okay policy, that he did not want to be associated with an oil disaster, so that's why he wasn't coming out and saying anything, because if he did, then he owns it. Can you imagine that our precious United States of America is going down the tube, and a president doesn't say, oh my God, not only is this a United States catastrophe, this is a world catastrophe, this is a human catastrophe, and all focus should be on this catastrophe. To use it now as a tool, again, a sleight of hand, looky here, a carbon tax, looky here, we're going to go to alternative energy. Well, what about here? Right now, all hands on deck, all brains on deck, all minds on deck, required to be focused on this very horrible problem. And in case you think it's not affecting you, wait till you see the effects of this have not hit home yet. What about all the people who are losing their jobs, who losing their livelihood? What unemployment in these areas going up? How do you think this is going to bear on our economy and our treasury? What about the supply of food? What about the oil with hurricanes and just natural currents going further and further and killing more life and starting a chain event where one organism is affected, causing another one to be affected as they feed on each other, and so on. What are the ramifications, and how long will it go on? Even right now, it is an incredibly, there's never been anything like it. I'm not sure there has ever been another world event like this. And again, as I've said to you before, when I think of this president and I think of this administration and I look at headlines that come at me, not just now, but always, my eyeballs fall out of my head. And here was, because day after day, if you saw what's going on, I know you don't have time to read. I know you don't have time to investigate. You won't get it from just cursory sources that you're used to getting it from. But one of the headlines that came at me that threw my eyeballs out of their socket in the beginning of this was countries offering to help right in the beginning. Countries that had been through something like this and had the kind of equipment and ships that can do this kind of thing were refused. And now you watch the things that could have been done slowly come into place, hopefully. And, let me say something else, because I have so much to say on this, and let me get in my few points before my time is up, because it's going fast. But to think that we rejected the help, and let me be sure to say that during this time, what was this person who is the President of the United States doing? And does this, I discredit him from ever talking environment, because anybody, and loving the country, how many people could see what's going on there and ignore it and say, I don't want to touch it, or say, I don't want to talk to the head of BP? How much of an environment do you have? How dare you talk about climate change? How dare you talk about climate change? You couldn't possibly care about the environment. And what were you doing during this whole time?